Guys? Well, it's right there in the title. It's a question. I want you guys to answer the question honestly down in the comments before you even watch the video. The title should say something like, you know, are Karambit knives ugly? / useful, you know? Put it that way. There's actually two questions here. Are they ugly? And regardless of whether they're ugly or not, are they useful? I've had a lot of people comment on Karambits in the past when I've done videos. Most recently, my most recent made videos on this Emerson Karambit. I was saying that, you know, I always wanted to have an Emerson Karambit. I like Karambits, you know, but just because I like Karambits doesn't mean you have to. I also find Karambits to be extremely useful. Some people would disagree with that. I mean, essentially, what makes this a Karambit? Why is this a Karambit knife and that's not? Well, two things. First, the hawkbill blade, right? A very heavily curved blade. And of course the ring. So it can be locked into the hands in a reverse grip. Now, of course, you can use this in a forward grip and lock it in with your pinky. But the idea behind this is that the knife is not going to be yanked out, pulled out. It's not going to fall out of your hands. You know, you have much more of a secure grip. As far as defensive knife fighting, you know, if you have to use one of these, a lot of people like the idea of a Karambit because it's not going to come out of your hand or whatever. But, you know, traditionally you're going to use a Karambit in a reverse grip. And doing knife fighting in a reverse grip, yeah, it looks cool in videos and people know what they're doing. But if you're just Joe Schmo and you're carrying a knife, you know, for defense and you know nothing about knife fighting or knife defense or anything, very poor choice probably. Any knife in a reverse grip is going to be a lot more difficult to wield, you know, correctly than, you know, just the average person using common sense and just, I don't know, animal instinct of stabbing, slashing, and poking people to try to get them from stop hurting you, you know? So like in an untrained hand, that is gonna be way more effective than something like these two knives. What prompted this whole video is this this trainer. I was looking at it, playing with it a little bit. I did a trade with someone on Instagram. A very nice viewer traded me these two Karambits here, 511, which I didn't use yet, but I have it here for visual reference, and of course the trainer here. But yeah, I was just thinking Karambits and stuff, and I remember back when I posted my video on the Emerson, I had some comments, oh, it's awesome, it's so cool, and some comments are like, oh, they're so dumb, Karambits, why do they exist? People think, again, they think they're ugly, and usually the same people who think they're ugly think they're useless, you know? What do you do with that? That's not a knife you can use. Well, it's just a hawkbill blade. It actually is extremely, extremely usable. We all know curvature, right? Belly on a blade slices very nicely. This is reverse belly. So when you go to cut into material, let's say I'm cutting into my hand, this knife edge is forced into the material. It's actually extremely effective. I'm not saying that this is going to be a better cutter necessarily than this knife or any other knife, but it's not useless by any means. So, I mean, the ugly part's certainly an opinion, but I don't know if you could really argue with it being useless. Useless for some tasks, maybe. It's not going to be nearly as effective at, let's say, stabbing. If you need to stab into something, you know, whether it's in a defensive situation or even in a utility situation, which again, no one really does, but I don't know, maybe you have an actual need to stab something with your knife for, you know, utility. You use your knife as a tool, but, you know, instead of cutting it open normally, you got to stab into it for some reason. No idea why that would happen, but who knows? There's probably a couple scenarios like that. And you can argue that, yeah, obviously a straight blade or even multiple blades out there, different blade designs would stab a lot better, you know, than a Karambit. Because obviously a Karambit, you can't stab straight down. You have to stab on an angle, which is a lot harder to do, and you can have less force than when the, you know, tip and blade is in design or in line, you know, with the handle. But what it comes down to for me, because I like Karambits, it's just a cool looking knife to me. When I was a kid, I was infatuated with two knife designs. I loved all knives, I still do love all knives. But there's two knife designs that always gets me going when I see them. Karambit and a balisong. Why? Well, first of all, balisong you can play with, and obviously there's a lot of flash there. A balisong is 90% flash, 10% use. You know, in fact, I would guess that 99% of people out there who own balisongs or butterfly knives, if you don't know the term, they flip them around because they're fun. They do not use them. They don't carry them and cut their mail open with them. Maybe they do around the house sometimes, whatever, but it's not like their main choice for knife. Most people, not all, there's always exceptions to the rule, but most people like balisongs because they're just cool. They're fun. You flip them around, it's intimidating. You know, when you're a teenage boy, knives are cool because they're dangerous, right? As you grow a little bit older, I mean, there's some mature kids, but generally speaking, as you grow older, you see knives different. As a teenage boy, at least I can speak for myself, they were cool. Ooh, it's dangerous. You know, knives, weapons. Ooh, scary. Ooh, you know, it's a fun thing. It's just something that's in, you know, a lot of people. It's just really cool to have dangerous things, you know? Maybe it's the same reason why you want a really cool fast car. Do you need to go 100 miles an hour? Do you need to do it in 7 seconds? No, but it's a lot more fun than doing it in 20 seconds, you know, in your Ford station wagon. No offense to anyone with Ford station wagons out there. It's just one of those cool things. So as I grew up, you know, and got older, I focused less on knives being cool and more knives being useful. And okay, well, yeah, this is a really useful tool. What's the best version for me, you know, for my needs and stuff like that. That's how I started seeing knives as I got older. But there will always be that kid in me that says, this is a really cool looking knife and it's very intimidating. Now, knife people, they know that's a Karambit, right? But non-knife people, who knows what that is? Maybe they can assume it's a knife, maybe not, who knows? But especially like with the wave feature, when you just dip down your pocket and you get your finger in that ring, right? You just wave it right out of your pocket and you got that open. I mean, that's intimidating to me. Now, the worst thing you could possibly do, I think, would be to draw a knife for an intimidation factor only. You know, if you're not, you know, intending to use your knife in a defensive situation against a person or an animal or something, don't even touch the thing, okay? Because you're just asking to get shot. If that person happens to have a gun and you pull your knife out thinking you're going to scare them off, well, guess what? You gave them a great reason to kill you. So definitely don't use any type of weapon or tool in a weapon type scenario for intimidation factor. There's something to be said about it, and some people may argue that and say, well, hey, you know, you might avoid a situation by intimidating. Well, you're taking a big chance. You're taking a huge gamble by doing that. And that's not what this video is really about. I'm just kind of mentioning it because it's in my mind right now. But back to the I don't know, the topic of discussion here. Are these knives ugly? And separate from that, are they useful? I'd just like to know your opinions down below. To me, if someone whipped out a knife, now it's a little different now that I know a lot more about knives, you know, many years later, but go back to Jeff, you know, 11, 12 years old. Someone whips this out, a traditional looking knife, especially for some reason, wood handles are less scary than synthetics. Right? You can have an opal with a carbon fiber handle, way more scary for some reason, because this looks more like a tool. And I think for non-knife people, that's pretty, you know, pretty common theme there. You can have a big knife, but if it's got a wood handle, oh, well, you know, you're not going to hurt me. For some reason, I don't know why people think that, but hey, you know, oh, that's a tool. It's just a wood handle. But you have like some kind of plastic or God forbid black, just like guns, right? The black guns are way more scary than the brown guns because the brown guns are for hunting. The black guns are just for killing people. So, you know, whew, can't have that. So yeah, I mean, this would be way less intimidating, even though it's a much more effective blade, way bigger, much better for stabbing, long enough to, you know, really mess up some organs if they were to stab you, as opposed to, say, this 511. However, if you whipped out this 511, I would be way more intimidated as 11-year-old Jeff, and way more mystified and ooh, ah, than something like that. So, yeah, I mean, to this day, though, it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those knife designs. Some people just are really specific in their knives. Like, I know people who only buy sheep's foot blades. Now, sheep's foot blade, yeah, it's great. You're not going to poke anyone, you know, with a sheep's foot. You know, it doesn't obviously have a point. It has a great flat edge, but for some people, that's exactly what they're looking for. Other people, no, what are you going to do with that flat edge? I need some belly, or, you know, I need a hawk bill or something. So obviously there's lots of different opinions out there as to what you need for what scenario, but there's just personal preference. Some people just love the way a sheep's foot blade looks. I happen to be a huge fan of a hawk bill blade. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a Karambit setup. You can get rid of that ring and straighten this out a little bit here. It doesn't have such a, you know, extreme look to it. And I still like it. It's just, it's very organic. It's very natural. What is a hawkbill blade essentially? It's a talon. It's a claw. You know, some of the biggest, most dangerous animals on this planet rely on what? Pointed teeth and claws. That's essentially what this is. You know, this is a man, you know, I don't know, bear claw. It's, you know, a tiger claw. That's what it is. It's very natural. You see this hawkbill shape in nature quite a bit for very aggressive usage and tearing into meat and flesh. So yeah, I find that to be intimidating. And I mean, not so much anymore. if someone happened to whip this out today, I'd be, I'd be concerned. Don't get me wrong, I'd be very concerned. But for some reason, I would be more, with more knowledge and, being older now and more experienced with knives and stuff, I'd be a little more concerned with that bigger blade. Especially if I knew it was sharp. Anyway, I don't know, just kind of rambling here and, put my thoughts on camera, and I just love to hear the feedback. 2 questions: are they ugly, yes or no? And are they useful? And I think you're going to see a lot of matches. There's a lot of mismatch opinions here too. Some people are going to say, yeah, they're really ugly, but they're really useful. And some people are going to say, no, they're really cool looking, and I think they're sexy and all that, but they're totally useless. I wouldn't actually use one. It's just cool for collecting. And then obviously everything in between. But for me, yeah, I think they're pretty cool looking. I don't think they're ugly, and I do think, that they're very useful. Now, trainers, whole different issue. I was going to maybe do a separate video just talking about trainers. Some people think it's totally useless, unnecessary. Obviously, if you're in a class or something, there's more of a need for something like that. I like them as they're cool collector's pieces. That's why I ended up trading for this one. I'm not necessarily doing all kinds of funky moves and training with this and making sure I'm not going to cut myself with the real deal. It's more of a collector's piece. But anyway, maybe a separate video on that. Write down in the comments if you want to hear a video on trainers or not, because I have some other knife trainers. Maybe we could talk about it a little bit more in depth. But this one, again, do I have to say it again? No, I don't think I do. You know the questions. It's right in the title. Give me your feedback. Let's have some discussions. No arguments, just opinions. Remember, your opinion can't be wrong. So, just interested in what you guys are thinking. So that's all. A little topic on Karambits. And on the whole theme of Karambits, I actually should have grabbed it because I have that, well, you know what? I'll save it for a future video. You'll see what I'm talking about. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.